What's going on, everybody? I haven't done a live stream in quite some time. Reason for that, but so um, so tonight's video is going to be very, very specific. It's going to be very, very topic specific, essentially. So there is a journalist out there that I have a lot of respect for, Mehdi Hasan. He is a British citizen, but he's also an American citizen. He got his citizenship a while back, and he did have a show on MSNBC, and now he has his own platform called Zateo, which I proudly subscribe to. And let's put it this way. Mehdi Hasan is probably one of the greatest debaters I've ever seen. And the reason why this is because he brings receipts and he's not scared to debate anybody. He's very, 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 very detail oriented. He's a details kind of guy. And every single time I've seen him debate somebody, he doesn't back down. And also, he makes people trip over themselves. And he doesn't play any like real bad form tricks, essentially. As a matter of fact, I think he's probably one of the most good faith people out there, because the thing that I appreciate the most about Mehdi Hasan is the fact that he doesn't do ad hominem attacks, really, because we're coming down to an age of blood sports on the internet, where blood sports is king, where people seem to think that like attacking your opponent and not their argument is what's most important. People are drawn to drama nowadays. This is what like we as a society are kind of drawn to, essentially. So, but the reason why I'm talking about this right now is because Mehdi had Joe Walsh, former Republican congressman, who is very anti-Trump, which I give him a lot of respect for, but they were having a conversation about Israel. Now, let's be honest, okay? If you haven't had a chance to check out that, I'm going to post it in the comments below. You need to go watch that, because Mehdi basically cleans his clock. Because Joe Walsh is anti-Russia, says that Russia is committing a genocide in Ukraine. They invaded a sovereign nation for no real good reason. They're killing innocent people. And he thinks that Vladimir Putin is a dictator and an evil person, which he is. But for some reason, he doesn't hold that same standard, Benjamin Netanyahu, and to what Israel is doing to Palestine. Now, I want to make myself abundantly clear. I am very, very critical of the Israeli government, not necessarily the Israeli people. Now, I am very anti-Zionist. That does not make me anti-Semitic. This is really, really important, because Zionism is not a race. It is a political affiliation. And Zionism essentially is where they believe themselves to be the superior party and the superior race or the superior group over the people of Palestine. Now, I want to make myself clear. What happened on October the 7th, when Hamas attacked and killed 1,200 people, it was horrific. It was a war crime, flat out. I denounce it 100%. Anybody with a lick of common sense would denounce this. And those that support Hamas, I denounce them openly. But what I cannot accept is the response that Israel has committed to the West Bank, Gaza, Rafah, all the different districts of Palestine. I cannot condone these actions. Why? Because it is what it is, a genocide. But again, I'm going to post the link to the actual debate, or should I say the ass kicking that Joe Walsh received. Like, it was not pretty. Like, I actually felt bad for Joe Walsh for about how bad he did. And now listen, I'll be honest. I've been on the receiving ends of really bad debates where I've been the one that has never been able to defend my position. So I know what it's like to be in Joe Walsh's position. But his positions are so indefensible, it's fucking atrocious. But I'm not going to talk about that. There is a radio host based out of Las Vegas, a guy I highly respect, Brian Shapiro. I've called into his show a few times, and I think Brian's a great guy. I would love to sit down, have a beer or just have a lengthy conversation with him about politics, because I know he will be good faith. But he had Joe Walsh on his show recently, and I feel like Joe was not really challenged, essentially because Brian and I have had the conversation where we talked about Mehdi Hasan, and he believes Mehdi to be anti-Semitic, which I disagree upon, because Mehdi has gone on debates where he says that he's not anti-Semitic. As a matter of fact, he is anti-Zionist, and there are other Jews, Israelis, Orthodox Jews we're talking about, that are anti-Zionist, and he proves like how they are not. So if a Jewish person is anti-Zionist, does that make them anti-Semitic? But I'm just gonna kind of let Brian and Joe do the talking here. So let's go ahead and jump into this, okay? So for the record, I don't own the rights to this video. The video that goes to the credit here is to the Pushing the Limits podcast.
A lot of people don't realize the times that we are in. I have to ask you about the interview that you did with Mehdi Hasan. It was very, very contentious. It was explosive. Listen, there are things about Hasan that I do like. I think he's right on a lot of issues. I think you're right on the Israel situation. I mean, he showed you, I don't want to use the term disrespect, but I thought at times he was very disrespectful. I want to know, what was that like, that exchange with him? You guys are, for people that don't know, you're debating the Israel-Palestinian conflict. You're talking about Hamas. What was that like for you, and were you a little bit surprised at how that went down?
I was completely surprised. It wasn't supposed to be that way. I told Mehdi I'd only come in and sit down with him if he and I had a respectful conversation. But you know what, Brian? That's on me. I'm a big boy. Mehdi didn't do that. He had no interest in it. It was an attack out of the gate. I don't do debates anymore. I don't do that kind of stuff anymore.
He doesn't do that kind of stuff anymore, but yet he always goes on Piers Morgan's podcast, which is known for being blood sports, is known for being debate style. It's not good faith when you go on to Piers Morgan. I'm just going to say it as it is. The only time it's ever good faith is if everybody is on the same sheet of music and everybody agrees with Piers Morgan. That's when it is not a debate. But if you're a left-wing person and a right-wing person on Piers Morgan, he's going to favor the right wing. I mean, this is called for what it is. Piers Morgan is not a leftist, regardless of what you think about it. But, I'm not going to talk too much about Piers Morgan, essentially. But just saying that Joe Walsh thought that he was going to be, thinking, oh, not a big deal. You obviously don't know that, like, Mehdi does his research on the people he talks to. Joe Walsh was confronted about his own tweets. He was confronted about the tweets that he has made. And Mehdi cleaned his clock. There's no other way to look at it. Like, he straight up tore into him. Because Joe Walsh said some pretty horrific things about defending Israel. And saying that Israel is right in how they're handling this. Israel has committed war crimes in Palestine. It's not up for fucking debate. There are people that have literally surrendered and they've gotten killed. There are people that have had, like, bullets riddled in their cars, and when paramedics come to retrieve these people, the paramedics get fucking shot. I mean, it's not up for fucking debate. I just think that Joe Walsh didn't like the fact that he feels like he got ambushed. But you know what? You got to take your fucking licks and suck it up and drive on. You're a big boy. You sure as hell aren't acting like one right now.
Brian, the old Joe Walsh used to do stuff like that. I don't find any value in it. I'm angry at him that he did that, but it's on me. I'm a big boy. I didn't want to walk off the set. I thought about doing it, but I have too much respect for him. But I won't do that anymore. I don't do that kind of thing.
Forgive me for asking you this question, but I do think it's an important one. Do you think Mehdi Hasan is anti-Semitic?
Yes. Absolutely.
Christ almighty, he is not anti-Semitic. Anti-Semitic was specifically being anti-Jewish. Basically, being anti anybody that is Jewish, you are anti-Semitic, essentially. That's like... Joe Walsh is as bad faith as he comes with that fucking argument. And Brian, listen, if you're watching this, You got to understand where I'm coming from here, okay? Mehdi Hasan is not anti-Semitic. He's made that abundantly clear. He has always said that Israel has a right to be where they are. They have a right to be established where they live, but they don't have a right to commit an ethnic cleansing or a genocide in Palestine. It's different. It's so irritating. Why do people think it's anti-Semitic to simply call out a genocide and call it what is happening? If this was any other country, we would have no problem calling it a genocide. We would have no issue calling it that. But for some reason, we have to handle kid gloves with Israel. Hey, bullshit. We don't have to handle a fucking kid gloves whatsoever. This is a problem. And we are funding this problem. We are funding what is going on, and we have been. And, Mehdi, to his credit, has been very critical of the last administration, as well as Kyle Kalinske, critical of the last administration. He was critical of the last administration, and I'm a Democrat. I'm a progressive. I still voted for Kamala Harris. But the thing is, like, there are members of the Arab community that are Muslim that didn't vote Democrat, and I get it. That's the one community I am not going to fuck with, simply because it's a hard sell. But going back to this, calling Mehdi Hasan anti-Semitic simply because he is critical of what happened and holding Joe's feet to the fire does not make him anti-Semitic. This is bad faith, 100%. So, Brian, no disrespect to you, sir, but I feel like you are allowing Joe to just run wild and rampant and basically make a false accusation. Let's continue.
You think he has a hatred towards people of the Jewish faith?
I think he has a hatred toward the state of Israel.
No.
Well, I mean,
I'm trying not to be careful, but I think he has an abject hatred toward the state of Israel. I don't believe he believes the state of Israel should exist.
So listen,
Oh
Joe,
my
I
God.
think we probably agree on this
What
issue.
did I just fucking say? He said that Israel has a right to exist. He has said this on record multiple times. He doesn't hate Israel. He just hates what Israel is fucking doing.
I'm not a big fan of Benjamin Netanyahu, not to open up a can of worms here, but you're dealing with a group of people and Palestinians who, by the way, I don't want innocent people to die, neither do you, but I've never spoken to a person that is Palestinian that thinks Israel should even exist. I mean, when you're speaking to people that don't even think Israel should exist, it's very hard to have a good faith conversation with them, right?
No, Brian, you're spot on. And I thought it would be that way. Like Mehdi would say something, I'd listen, I'd respond respectfully, and we'd go back and forth like that.
Oh, really? Joe, who dropped the F-bomb on Mehdi's channel? Wasn't Mehdi. It was you, buddy. I just think the fact that, Joe, you got fucking flustered, bro. Bro, you got fucking flustered. Your shit got rocked. Hardcore, buddy. Like, it's not even close. Like, I saw you raising your voice multiple times, and you got all up in your feelings, honestly. Mehdi pushed your shit right all the way in, and you did not like it because he used your words against you, and you were so angry about that. Like, Joe, listen, I just want you to know something. I respect the fact that you're anti-Trump, but you are so wrong about what's going on in Israel and Palestine right now. You are so wrong.
That's the only kind of... I'll sit down with Mehdi. I believe he's anti-Semitic. I'll sit down with him to have a respectful conversation. That wasn't that. And Mehdi lives in this world where it's all gotcha. I'm sure his left-wing audience, Brian, loved it because he attacked, crazy pro-Israel Joe Walsh. But there's just no value in that for me anymore.
I completely agree with you. I thought you did a really good job, Joe, under the circumstances. I really did. I think he's condescending, and I don't think he's a great guy. I think he's very condescending. I did Pierce Morgan last week, and I'm hoping we can get Mehdi on the show when I'm on there because I have a few things I'd like to say to him. But anyway, that's here nor there.
Ugh. Brian, dude, you don't know what you're walking into, man. You're going to walk into a fucking buzzsaw, honestly. Because, like, okay, again, Brian, I respect the hell out of you, dude, but Mehdi is literally like the best debater on the planet right now. I don't even think it's close. I could put Mehdi up against like any debater on the planet, like Charlie Kirk, Michael Knowles. You know, you destroyed Michael Knowles. No doubt about that. Mehdi would fucking just demolish those guys in a way that you probably never thought possible. The thing is, though, you might think that Mehdi was being condescending, but Joe Walsh went on his platform, and Mehdi was able to deconstruct all of his arguments and make him look the fool. And Joe could not defend any of his arguments. And, you know, it might seem weird and it might seem like off the fact that he could not defend any of his arguments. But the reason why this is because his arguments are indefensible. It's kind of like all the guys we see on Piers Morgan, all the right wingers that make ridiculous arguments. They can't defend them, but because they've got a fucking right leaning host that will, you know, just, you know, ride their coattails and defend them at every turn. Because Piers Morgan's a coward. I said it. Piers Morgan is a fucking coward. Because I think it's probably because he's afraid of Trump. The thing is, though, is that, like, Mehdi is not afraid of anybody. He doesn't answer to anybody because he runs his own program. Joe, I'm not saying he answers to Israel, but he just is so firm in his beliefs that he feels like he is 100% correct in his views, but he's not. But he's afraid of looking inconsistent. He is afraid of looking like, oh, well, I don't want to be looked at as a liar, essentially. No one's accusing him of being a liar. Thing is, it was clear in that debate he didn't do any research. He just simply said, I defend Israel. I can't, some of these things I cannot condone, I condemn. But the thing is, like, what about Hamas? Mehdi said on multiple occasions he condemns Hamas, but Joe could not help but go back to Hamas. At no point could he condemn the war crimes that Israel has committed. They have committed war crimes, Brian. I'm sorry. And, you know, if you and I want to have a conversation about this, I am welcome to do so. Because I know what war crimes look like. What Israel did was, and what they have been doing is horrific. Absolutely horrific. So, I mean, I don't know what more I can really say about this. It's just, it's insane that Joe actually thinks that Mehdi was being bad faith. Mehdi was calm and collected, and he kept his cool. It's just when you don't answer questions, yes, he's going to get irritated the same way. If I feel like my questions are not being answered, I get irritated fucking quickly, and I really become irate. I am so quick to go after people when they don't answer my questions directly. So, I mean, there's nothing more I can really say about this, though, Brian. I mean, again, I respect the hell out of you. I think you're an awesome guy. I love your show, and I keep tuning in. I'm going to keep calling in just because I feel you're so fair. You are so fair. But I feel like you're wrong about Mehdi. Mehdi is not anti-Semitic. He is anti-Zionist. There is a specific difference about this. And, you know, Mehdi, if you see this video, I got nothing but love for you. I've listened to your book 3 times, How to Win Every Argument. Hopefully, well, someday I can learn from you. But the fact of the matter is just like, I think you are definitely on the right side of history, essentially. But anyway, if you've liked this video, please feel free to hit like, share, subscribe, what have you. And please let me know what you think in the comment section below. And Brian, again, if you want to have a conversation about this, I am more than open to do so. Just let me know what day we can talk about this. So I hope you all have a great